The rebirth of Yellow Spot pot still Irish whiskey is one of the most amazing stories I've ever come across. And it all started right here in Dublin's Fair City.
This is Swenny's Pharmacy, no doubt familiar to all you Joycean scholars. It pops up in Ulysses when Leopold Bloom drops in and buys a bar of lemony soap. But of course, you knew that.
James Joyce was a big whiskey fan. We're only a couple of pages into Dubliners, his collection of short stories, when we meet Old Cotter, who told endless stories of the distillery. Then there's Mr. Duffy, who lived in a house overlooking a distillery. And in the most famous short story, The Dead, there's a very good reason why Mr. Brown is the only character who drinks whiskey.
You see, in Joyce's Dublin of a century ago, pot still whiskey played a huge part in the life, commerce and culture of the place. But of all the whiskies sold in the capital, one, more than any other, became the Dubliners' tipple of choice. The pot still was made by Jameson and it was bottled by the family firm of Mitchell and Son.
In the days before accountants ruled the world, Jonathan Mitchell's great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, look, you get the idea. They had vast quantities of whiskey maturing deep underground in cool, dark cellars. This whiskey was put into casks that once contained sherry, Madeira and Malaga after they'd been emptied.
It was a link with the past. We're lucky enough to have old cask books and records going back, handwritten ledgers and so on. So I immediately delved in to have a look to see exactly what was the makeup of Yellow Spot. And we got a lot of information there. There was a reference to some of the casks, the Malaga casks, which were part of the blend that they used. So there was reference to that. This is the reincarnation of the real thing and a true reflection of what the old Yellow Spot was.
The last bottling of Yellow Spot was in the late 50s. So what did it taste like? Well, that's where this particular tale becomes a detective story.
The Little Museum of Dublin is just that, an intimate place that celebrates all that is great about the city. So it's not surprising that writers like W.B. Yeats and Samuel Beckett made an appearance.
But rather more surprising was this, an intact bottle of Yellow Spot whiskey. Here at last was a physical link with the past. And it raised an interesting idea. Would it be possible to recreate this famous and long-lost whiskey?
So Jonathan raided the archives to see if he could shed any light on the makeup of Yellow Spot. In a pile of old ledgers and journals, he uncovered a couple of surprises. Along with an order from none other than William Butler Yeats, these papers confirmed that Yellow Spot was a vatting of pot still whiskies, some of which were matured in sweet fortified wine casks for a full 12 years. Nowadays, something of a rarity. And that's where the problem lay. Remember, Yellow Spot wasn't a finished whiskey, but rather one where all the pot still had been matured for the full term in bourbon, sherry and Malaga wood. This is where the story takes another bizarre twist, because when the Mitchells looked into the Irish distillers' inventory of stock, they found, well, you guessed it, 12-year-old Malaga matured pot still whiskey.
So when you order a Yellow Spot, besides a whiskey with a great story, what are you getting? Well, let's just say the nose is unique. It's wonderful. You can instantly get the Malaga influence. I'm getting marshmallows and creme brulee and melted chocolate, cracked black pepper, linseed. It's just a wonderful drink. You're just going to have to try it. And I can safely say, I think it's a whiskey that James Joyce and 7 generations of the Mitchell family would absolutely approve.